Welcome to Talking in Business, guys. Today we are talking about the hiring process, the weight of your education, the importance of your resume, and how that all factors into whether you get the job or not and how much you get paid. Here's the show. Alrighty, guys. My name is Russell Disberger, the host of Talking of Business, joined by me, my dad, Russell Disberger, co-host of Talking of Business. Hi, Dad.
Good morning, Jordan. I am looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yes, you're finally going to come and visit the cabin with Squishmallows in Tennessee, and so we're excited to have you here. We can do an episode in person on Friday morning, so look out for that one. I wanted to give a couple of updates on some items that I have said in previous podcasts that we would update our listeners on. One of them is this bakery that we were looking at potentially purchasing. It's been crickets. I've reached back out to the individual asking if they had an update. Last action was in their court. Their job was to come up with what they valued their business at, and they just were going to value their business at their proprietary recipes, as they haven't made anything since March, and their brand value is probably sunk
Declining.
at this point. So,
And
then
and that's not unheard of. A lot of people that when you start a business, it's their child. And if there's a possibility of a son or a grandson or a daughter taking it over at some point, sometimes people want to hang on to it. And it's not as much about the money as well as the idea and a way to provide. So I don't falter, but you should always be aware that, gee, you're willing to give someone money. Why wouldn't they want to sell? You have to understand that what motivates individuals is quite a bit different from person to person.
just another point on that. I have personally found that time is of the essence in a lot of deals, and if you give someone enough time, the money factor isn't as big of a deal to them. For example, if someone is if they're starting a new job in a new state, they're more likely to sell off their house or some of their assets at a lot cheaper value. This individual,
just to be done with it.
right, and this individual may not be in that position, and so the price may not be of a great value for you and I. We're still curious as to what it may be, but then too, they may decide I might just hold on to this because time is not of the essence, and neither is capital in this sense. And they may have seen their brand value is already shot. Anyway, so wanted to give that update there. And then we also have Monday goal set, goal check, and we will likely do that this next Monday. And so just a reminder, Dad, our goals are I'm supposed to help coordinate your new website, and yours is I think you said that you would try the AI thing again.
Right, which I am.
Right. All right. Well, we'll transition to the main topic. It was quiet, so I hate the slider bar. Here we go. All right. So I got this panel of buttons I hit, and when I have the intro music come in, I slowly, manually turn down the volume to fade in the intro music, and then I leave it off, and then I hit the transition buttons.
So you're saying it's a user error?
And yeah. The audio's off. I just wanted to explain it, not
engineer, my son.
That's right. All right, so Dad, you and I briefly prepared for this before the episode, and I said you hired hundreds of people, and you said you've hired thousands of people. And so I wanted to hit from both the perspective of the business hiring an individual, but then also an individual applying for the job. I think this is a valuable topic for them. I know you have one particular, well, you probably have multiple positions that you're advocating for right now. But I know one I had asked you about, and you gave me a very wide range in salary that might exist, and so that got me thinking. Okay, so from the hiring entity, what am I looking for? What boxes am I looking to check in order to unlock that great potential? What am I looking for in this employee from the standpoint of education, to their experience, to their resume, to how well the interview goes? Can we break those down from both the side of those boxes that the interviewer and the interviewee might be able to check?
Sure. And this is a very broad brush or big brush that I'm going to hit this with, because every client is different. I had one that was hiring for the chief revenue officer of a fast growing company. And when we were evaluating, the company really needed someone that could hit the road and develop a sales team. But their bigger pain was the leadership pipeline or the lack thereof. And so the current owner is looking at someone that might be able to take over in 2 to 3 years. So he actually weighed that above his leadership ability rather than building a team. Now, ideally, it could be one and the same. But the candidates that we looked at, we went through and prioritized the different factors. Education did not matter as much. We just wanted to see either experience or education.
So
So,
I want to interrupt you here for a second. When does education play a large factor in your experience when
when
hiring?
it's a technical job like an engineer or anyone that requires a license, where you truly have to understand all the ins and the outs. So, for instance, there's a lot of bookkeepers, but for a bookkeeper to become a full charged accountant or a CPA, it's a fairly big leap. So I would definitely look at the education of an accounting degree. When it comes to investment banking and things of that nature, definitely MBAs or a high degree of experience in that arena. Engineering, almost all engineering fields, if it's touching it at all, would require it. But if it's in sales, no education is required. If it's in networking, if it's even being a leader in general, no major education is typically needed. But the experience, most people fail in a job, and this is for both parties, because of behavior. It's not because of the lack of skill. So one of the things, and we've talked about it in previous episodes, is I've found this tool called PDP, Professional Dynametrics Programs, which I use with almost all my clients. But we develop a model, an ideal model based on proven success, people doing the job with success. We can create a model because what we'd like to do is duplicate that. And sometimes there's variation of success, different behavior styles that can drive success. So we might have different behavior profiles that will work. A lot of times, what the model tells us is what not to hire, because we can also survey the bottom 20% of our candidates or our staff and see these are the ones that don't perform, and we could survey the top and come up with a very good idea. If we don't have any proven success, there's another survey tool that PDP has called the Job Scan that allows you to develop a model based on the stakeholders that are very familiar with the job and or that's doing the hiring or the managing. And that allows you to create a model in which you can benchmark applicants to. And then it tells you in advance areas that this applicant might have stress and or might need further training and development. A lot of times you hear the honeymoon period for a new employee. Everyone comes in, we give them the benefit of the doubt. We hope that they're going to solve it. And then a year and a half into it, reality begins to hit and the person starts to fail. Well, what we want to try to do is not remove really the honeymoon, but what we want to do is start where both people are very transparent with each other and we know where the challenges are going to be up front. So in an interview, especially in an executive or a leadership realm, I want someone to be honest. If someone's spinning it and taking everything, it's like, gee, tell me a con, and it's like, well, I worked too hard. Something like that tells me, boom, you're not being honest with me. I really want to know what are some of the struggles. I want to see someone that is willing to be very transparent, honest, that has integrity, because I can trust that person. And that may be different now. A lot of managers, and it's a huge majority, have never been trained really in how to hire. HR may have been trained, and your recruiter's been trained to maybe screen and get everything prepared, but people a lot of times will hire someone they like. I think the odds are 52 to 58% that that manager will choose the right person. So it's almost like flipping a coin. So the from an employee or an applicant's perspective, this is a courtship. It's not just you trying to get a job, but it's you trying to find a job that's going to light your fire, that's going to you're going to be excited and ideally stay with. This adage of quit your job often and get promoted, yeah, there's some truth to it. But from an employer standpoint, and I'm doing the hiring, I see you're a job hopper. Well, I know I'm going to spend maybe 6 months training and development into you. It's going to take you maybe a year to get to pay for yourself, and then you leave a year later. I'm going to stay away from people that jump as often. So you may be able to get rewarded doing a few hops. But if you have more than 3 jobs in the last 5 years, I won't even look at your resume. Now, if you got acquired and there's a reason for it, maybe. But this is a courtship, and everybody needs to really dance and get to know each other and be very transparent.
That's great. I would like to refocus that just a little bit on the
Okay?
main question. So you did touch on it a little bit. So from an education perspective, for the roles that require that, or some of these C-suite roles, having an extra set of education or letters behind your name is helpful and shows that you're adequate and experienced for the job. Obviously, a doctor who's performing surgery on you.
Medical, yes.
Yeah, you want those specific letters behind engineering, and then MBA is nice for those kind of C-suite positions. So then the next thing that we hit on is resume. So you talked a little bit about that, about, okay, hey, I look at your prior work experience, and if you're jumping around a lot, well, there's kind of some red flags that you said there, unless they can be explained and rationalized in a way that's not, oh,
And
hey,
that
I'm
should be done in the cover letter.
it should be done in the cover letter. And then the other thing is that resume is going to be, it may not be as big of a factor going to you as the interviewer or the person who might decide, hey, I'm going to give this person a shot. But that initial recruiter who's going out and looking for you, that's where that resume is going to play a bigger impact.
Because that's the gatekeeper. I mean, typically, if there's a spelling error, a lot of people I know will actually throw your resume out if there's grammatical errors, because your resume is the only piece that shows your work initially. And if you haven't spent the time to make sure it's right, it gives us an idea of what your work product's going to be.
You've also touched on education there, where hey, for certain roles we don't necessarily need that, and then there's the obvious ones where you would. The last one is your overall experience, and you also did touch on that. So let's kind of tie that all together and hit what my original question is. So this role that you told me about, you told me has a range between $70,000 and $140,000 a year.
And it's
It's
actually higher than that, probably.
it is a very wild swing, and I would imagine that a very great interview, that, hey, I feel very comfortable with this person. This person's done this role before. They're a perfect fit. Maybe they took the PDP. Interview went well. This person could unlock that very high salary. Now, someone who doesn't have that experience but may have a good PDP and is eager to break into the door would be on the lower end. What would you agree with that? And
Yeah,
what?
so typically when determining salary, and a lot of people want to get a salary of a CEO, and why can't I do this and why can't I do that? The key is every position has a marketplace. If you look at what other places are paying for like jobs, it helps you establish kind of a base range. Now, when you're in the position that you're referring to, it is all over the board. There is no consistency, and so what we're looking at is what is the return on investment. So if I pay somebody, let's say 140, 180 thousand, I need to make sure that I'm going to be able to see, or this organization is going to be able to see a benefit of someone of that caliber that would warrant that salary is going to be able to warrant that pay. Otherwise, the organization is going to be able to fundraise, execute more, bring in more work to for the organization versus someone that may be a little more green that has a good behavior profile but less experience or skills. I know that as the organization that would be hiring, that we're going to do a lot of training, a lot of development. It's going to take a longer time to get that return on investment, and so thus warranting a lower salary. That doesn't mean that over time you won't get a higher and higher wage, but you have to prove it. Everybody needs to go to work every day saying, how am I relevant? And then every day is like an interview. And we're trying to prove ourselves. And ideally, if ultimately it gets down to monetization, what value are you bringing to the organization? And if you don't know your main thing, you need to start asking around because your job is probably easily dispensable.
I think there's also a mindset that goes along with that. If you're applying for a job that has a large wage and you're just thinking of, oh, hey, that would impact me greatly. And you're not thinking of, oh, hey, how can I impact the business greatly? I'm totally worth that. I'm going to return, factors greater than what I would be receiving. I think that there's a mindset there. I think the people who are thinking, hey, I can improve this business and I am well worth this wage, where are far more likely to get that higher wage, and they know their worth and their value, as opposed to someone who just says, oh, I deserve this, I want that would be great for me.
Right. So
There's
that
mindset.
would be more of an employee mindset. When during an executive or leadership realm, I want that candidate to actually be talking about what they would do, how they would improve it. I want to see in the interview their leadership and their vision. And I know that they don't have a complete set of data, but I want them to say, based on what I can tell or the research that I've done, because ideally the interviewer and the interviewee have done significant research on each other. Everyone comes in prepared for that resume or for that interview. If neither party has, then it's kind of a waste and a crapshoot. So what we have to try to do is, one, get the people to have really good questions that are going to provoke deep thought, and the interviewee, the person that's coming in, has to have questions about the culture, the environment, the workload, what kind of training, because this is a courtship. And if you don't ask those questions, you're not a serious candidate. You're just wanting a job.
I think this has been a very good discussion. I appreciate your answers, Dad, and in your time. I look forward to you coming and visiting. This is a podcast, guys. We are on YouTube. Like us, subscribe to us. It does a ton for our channel and our growth and development here. Share it with a friend. Leave a comment. Ask a question that you want to be answered on a future episode. We're also on Instagram and TikTok, so go follow us there. And thanks for listening to the show, guys.